The courthouse humiliation should have been the end of it. The HOA's last illusions of power had been shattered, their fraudulent charges exposed, their loyalists dragged away in cuffs. My spouse's badge had been the final nail in their coffin. But some enemies don't die quietly. Karen may have been locked away, but prison walls couldn't cage her obsession. She still had loyalists, desperate, angry remnants of the HOA willing to do her bidding. And she knew one thing for certain. If she couldn't break us legally, she would try to break us physically. That night, the farmhouse felt unnervingly still. The pond shimmered under the moonlight, wind rustled the tall grass, and the dogs growled faintly at shadows that weren't there. I sat by the window with a shotgun across my lap, uneasy. My spouse worked at the long oak table, reviewing files, their badge resting nearby like a silent shield. Grandfather dozed in his chair, cane at his side, though I knew he never truly slept deeply anymore. Then it happened. A crash at the front gate, the roar of engines, headlights cutting through the darkness like knives. Movement, I shouted, already on my feet. Black SUVs screeched to a halt just outside the fence. Doors flew open, and armed men in mismatched tactical gear spilled out, their weapons gleaming under the pale light. They weren't police. They weren't military. They were mercenaries. Karen's last loyal dogs dressed up to look official, hoping intimidation would do what lawsuits couldn't. One of them shouted, "Open the door! By order of the HOA Council. Step outside or be removed by force." The absurdity almost made me laugh. The HOA Council didn't even exist anymore. But there was nothing funny about the way they raised their weapons. My spouse stood, calm as stone. "Stay behind me," they said, slipping the badge into their pocket as if preparing a blade. Then, louder, their voice cutting through the chaos. "You are impersonating federal officers. Drop your weapons now or face consequences you don't understand." The mercenaries hesitated, but not for long. One fired a shot into the air, trying to scare us. The dogs barked furiously, straining against their chains. And then the world exploded in light. From the tree line behind the farmhouse, floodlights ignited. Black-clad tactical units poured out, silent and coordinated, their gear unmistakably real. Helicopters thudded overhead, blades chopping the night air. The mercenaries froze. A voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "Federal Tactical Unit. Drop your weapons and get on the ground." Chaos erupted. Some of Karen's loyalists dropped their rifles immediately, terror flooding their faces. Others fired wildly, only to be met with swift, precise responses from the real tactical squad. Within minutes, the entire fake force was subdued, cuffed, and lined up in the dirt like children caught playing war. One of the federal commanders stepped forward, saluting my spouse with crisp respect. "We had your property under surveillance, ma'am. We anticipated Karen's people might try something desperate." My spouse nodded. "She'll never stop. Not until the entire council is dismantled." The commander's expression hardened. "Then tonight we finish it." At dawn, a convoy of black vehicles rolled straight toward the HOA headquarters, or what was left of it. The once pristine building looked hollow, its banners faded, its windows dark. But inside, a skeleton crew still clung to the illusion of power. The tactical squad stormed the doors with brutal efficiency. We followed behind, watching as terrified board members scrambled, their binders and papers scattering like leaves. One woman screamed, "You can't do this. We're a private association." The commander slammed her binder shut. "You're a criminal organization, and you're finished." Room by room, office by office, they dragged the council members out in cuffs. Computers were seized, records boxed up as evidence, every secret uncovered. For years, they had bullied, extorted, and harassed families in the valley. Now their empire crumbled in a single morning. When it was over, we stood in the lobby. My spouse removed their badge, holding it in their palm, and looked around the ruined headquarters. "This place was never about community," they said quietly. "It was about control." Grandfather tapped his cane against the marble floor. "Control only works until people see through it. and now everyone has. By evening, the farmhouse porch was lit with lanterns again. Neighbors gathered, bringing food, drinks, music. Children ran along the pond's edge, laughter echoing into the night. The air felt lighter than it had in months, maybe years, but the truth sat heavy in my chest. Karen was still alive, still scheming, still whispering commands through prison walls. She had failed tonight, yes, but what monster wouldn't claw at the bars when caged? I looked at my spouse, their silhouette outlined by firelight, and silently promised myself one thing. If Karen ever tried again, she wouldn't just be silenced. She would be erased.